What's going on, everybody? Sorry I'm a little bit disheveled. Well, actually, I'm always a little bit disheveled, so it's not an excuse. But I woke up from a nap just now to see that there's another terror attack in England. I'll wait about 5 seconds. I'll let you guys know what's going on if you haven't heard already. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I just woke up to the news that a car, at least 20 people were taken to the hospital. A car plowed over some people at the London Bridge, and also there were multiple stabbings at the Borough Market in London. So if you have any friends or family over there, the London Bridge or the Borough Market, tell them to just go home and keep safe. And unfortunately, I'm not surprised, and I see people on Twitter saying stuff saying, oh, people are making it political already, and it absolutely is political, because here's why it's never going to stop. It has nothing to do with political affiliation. It's just common sense and the reality of the world. And Julian Assange has a good quote to me. He said, if lies can bring us into war, then maybe truth can bring us into peace. And that's exactly how I feel. The reason these terror attacks are just never going to stop in Europe and possibly make their way to the United States more often, they already have with, the nightclub shooting and whatnot, is because nobody gets to the bottom of the truth. Some people scrape the tops of the truth, but no one gets to the bottom of the truth. And until we get there, it's never going to stop. You have people like Ariana Grande and all these social justice warrior news sources that are like, look, she's going to talk to the victims. That's all I saw on Twitter yesterday, and it made me sick. Look, she's with the victims. That's great, but guess what? Now she has to go to more victims today, and next week she's going to go have to talk to more victims, and the next week she's going to have to talk to more victims, because it's never going to stop, because people are way too naive and dumb about what's truly going on to fix the situation. And for probably the 50th time this year, I'm going to explain what's going on. It's even deeper than what I'm saying, but I can at least bring you a little bit further down the rabbit hole. So if you watch this, tag a friend, please share it, and hopefully some people can wake up to the fact of what's going on, and maybe they can figure it out. So the past 16 years in the United States and England and in Europe, the media has been lying to everybody. If everybody knows the truth of what's going on, they wouldn't feel the way they do. But I can't speak for in England. I know a lot of people are looking at Jeremy Corbyn because he's an outsider as opposed to, someone who's just part of the establishment. But everybody here in America with Barack Obama, they just think it was a world full of lollipops and candy and flowers, and healthcare was great, education was great. Meanwhile, our healthcare was terrible. Our education is lower than 16th in the world. It's been failing for a long time. And we've been expanding into wars. The United States, along with England and the military of the UN, has been expanding into Somalia, Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and even dropping a few bombs in the outskirts of Pakistan. So you have to first understand that the world was not lollipops and candy and Willy Wonka land before Donald Trump got into office. These things that he's saying, albeit he could say it in a more friendly way, I absolutely agree. He could say it in a way that doesn't offend people so much, because I know how sensitive people are. When he talks about Mexico, he's not talking about the Mexican citizens of America. He's talking about the fact that Mexico is a very dangerous place with the influx of cartels and a lot of criminals. And yes, there's a lot of rape. I actually got a message from somebody who said, can you help me? My brother's raping his kids. I'm sorry, it's very graphic, but that happened. I told him he has to call the police. I'm sorry, I can't help you, but his brother was a gangster raping his own kids. That's really messed up. I'm sorry for being graphic, but that happens. I got that message in a week. It must happen thousands of times in the United States and Mexico, so he's not talking about that. Meanwhile, everybody thinks it's Candyland. You go over and talk about the refugee situation. It's not the fact that you're damning people, that you don't want to help people. I absolutely want to help people. What Trump was talking about was a temporary ban before we figure everything out. And meanwhile, terror attacks keep happening left and right, and people still want to call him racist and xenophobic. It's like How many terror attacks have to go on until you realize what's going on? And I agree, even Trump doesn't go further enough. He doesn't get the root of the problem, because it's not just the radicalization of the religion. It's the fact that these wars have been going on, funded by the United States, funded by Saudi Arabia, but nobody knows about it. If everybody knows about it, we can have an intelligent conversation and say, yeah, it's the radicalization of this religion that needs to stop. And then that's how you'd be like, well, you guys got to stop funding and arming the terrorists and using these, radical Muslim people, making them more radical than they are and making them mercenaries for your own political agenda. But this conversation that I just had with myself and you is something that no one has. You can't talk to people about it because people are so naive and dumb. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it's dumb, because how many children and women and men have to die before people figure out that there's a problem? And it happens on all ends. It happens because the U.S. and the UN are funding and arming terrorists and starting all these conflicts and making these people more mad at them than they already are. Think about in the United States, in the UK, if you follow me, to Europe, you have patriots of your country, whether you're from UK, like I said, wherever, that love their country, but they hate the news. In the United States, nobody trusts the news. MSNBC, CNN, not a lot of people trust them. So you already know that you're not getting the right story. You're getting a completely manipulated, fabricated story in the US, and you love your country, and you already have people mad at political leaders, whether it be Donald Trump, whether it be Hillary Clinton. You have a lot of people not on the same page. How do you think people in these countries feel? In Somalia, in Yemen, in Syria, in Libya, that have a leader like Gaddafi who's giving people, say what you want about Gaddafi, but he was giving people a piece of oil percentages or, royalties from stuff. He was trying to switch it up, get away from the central banks. And all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State, comes in and slaughters him. And now Libya is a complete mess. And it's not the people's their fault. It's not the children and babies who were born. I don't blame any human being, because we were all brought into this life. We didn't choose, and a lot of times we didn't choose our religion. We didn't choose our parents. We didn't choose our country. We didn't choose our gender. It's not the people's fault. But Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and the UN were doing some very, very, very grimy stuff. And all of these people that pretend like they're all for peace and love, they don't even know it exists. How are we going to solve a problem that you don't even know exists? And meanwhile, certain leaders like Le Pen and Trump are trying to tell you about the radicalization of a religion, and nobody wants to hear it. It's like, no, we'll wait to see who it is. We already know who it is. Who's hitting people with cars? Who's running around stabbing people? Stabbings happen in the United States, and gun violence happens here. Absolutely. I think 16,000 people kill each other via guns every year, and it's terrible. And it's not Muslim people in the United States, so yeah. But as far as these grandiose terror attacks, we know what's going on. And a lot of the reason that they're doing it is not only the radicalization of the religion, that's scratching the surface. I know a lot of people here, you'll blame the religion. That's fine, okay. I don't personally, but you could say it's part of the religion. But even for the terror attacks in the United States, they wrote a big letter and said, the reason that we did this, and it's not justified, it's a disgusting act. Anytime we do violence, it's disgusting. Anytime someone retaliates and does violence. But they said the reason we did this is because our hospitals are getting bombed. Our schools are getting bombed. Innocent people are getting bombed. And they said with the trade towers, terrible act, but they said we didn't even attack a school and a hospital. That's better than you. It's messed up, but in a lot of cases, I'm not saying it's right. It's disgusting, and I'm a true patriot and whatnot, but the problem's never going to end if we keep doing messed up stuff and no one knows about it, no one talks about it, and then they retaliate, and now you're at a point where you have 7 countries. It's not Donald Trump's fault. I'm sorry. It's not whatever new leader that doesn't exist. It's not this person. It's the fault of George Bush, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the UN for messing up all their treaties and doing all this dirty work. Meanwhile, the media is acting like it's flowers and candy, so you've got a bunch of dummies that think the world was perfect until Donald Trump, and now he's taking the scapegoat. Meanwhile, they created all of these crises, and now in the United States, we're doubling our intake of refugees. I hope that makes everyone feel comfortable, because we are. We decided, you know what? Not only are we not going to stop the terror in London, not only are we going to not stop the terror in Europe, we're going to just bring over more refugees. And the problem is not helping people. The problem is not helping people in need. The problem is messing up somebody's land with some leaders, having those leaders leave office, skate away, scot-free, no crimes whatsoever, acting like heroes. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, they're like, hey, like they're Mr. Popular, they're going around smiling, everybody thinks they're saints. They started that crisis. Trump comes in and has the hard task of cleaning up a crisis. Everybody blames him and won't even let him protect his own people. Meanwhile, London and England, they're not even trying to protect their own people. They act like it doesn't exist. The mayor of London says it's just part of living in a big city, get used to it. The leader of France says terrorism is part of life. Donald Trump says, I'm not going to succumb to terrorism, and people make him out to be a big bad monster. Well, guess what, my friends, my social justice warrior friends? Be prepared for more terror attacks that happen. When a terror attack happens next week, don't call me. When a terror attack happens next month, don't call me. Don't call me when it happens in 2 months. Don't call me when it happens in a year. I'm not surprised. I woke up, oh my, you think I'm surprised? Why would I be surprised? What happens when you don't get to the root of the problem? You have a religion that's very radical, and then you have Saudi Arabia doing God knows what. We're giving them weapons. They're giving who weapons? We're giving who weapons? No one knows who's giving who weapons. No one knows who's using who as mercenaries. What terror groups are doing what? We don't know. When George Bush was in office, it was Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, oh my God, Al-Qaeda, oh my God, Al-Qaeda. Where did ISIS come from? Does anyone? No one knows, because they've been getting lied to on the television. CNN's lying to you. MSNBC's lying to you. The world was not perfect when Barack Obama was in office. I'm sorry. It wasn't. They were some of the most cruel, corrupt, and evil politicians that the United States has had in a long time. Led by people, they're just puppets. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It's not even Hillary's fault. She's a little meat puppet. She's, here, little Hillary, do our dirty work. That's what they do. It's not their fault. It's even deeper than that. But nobody knows about it. You tell somebody that loves Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, hey, did you know that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton went into Libya, Somalia, Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan? No, I don't think so. No. It happened. You're just too dumb and too brainwashed and too manipulated by the news to even know what's going on. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, I'm sorry, until there's some real leadership. Like I said, people like Trump can do a better job to speak to people, but it's a multi-layered issue. There is a problem with the radicalization of a religion, and you have politicians making the problem worse, making these people more violent, more hateful towards them, because there's actually a problem in the own religion. There's many peaceful Muslims. There's a Mecca every year where people pilgrimage for a peaceful prayer ceremony, and ISIS attacks those people too. ISIS attacks the peaceful Muslims. They don't even want peaceful Muslims. They're just out to kill everybody. And they're driving United States cars. And in a lot of cases, they're fighting with United States weapons. They have oil that they gained because we just went into Iraq and places like that, messed it all up, and then left a huge power vacuum. So now they have oil and more money to get more weapons. We have to figure out the truth of everything. And it needs to be conversations. The truth about religion, all religions, we need to get to the bottom of the truth and what's really going on. We need to get to the bottom of politics, what the politics are doing. We need to get to the bottom of war, what wars are really happening and who's funding who's drone striking innocent civilians and making people even more radicalized and hateful towards them. When you have wars going on and then you get involved and mess it up and make it worse, who do you think people are going to be the most mad at? But the politicians that did that, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, nobody knows. Barack Obama says, hey, I love Americans, and gets 1 million retweets on Twitter. He's a sensation. And that's great. He's cool, he's funny, whatever, but he's a mask. He's a puppet. He's a, hey, Barack, look really cool while we take over all these countries and make people even more. What a dumb, I can't think of a dumber strategy. The UN in the United States, you go in, you kill off leaders like Saddam and Gaddafi, tried to do the same thing in Syria, but Donald Trump actually stopped them. Don't get it twisted. If Hillary Clinton was the president and whatever weirdos in the UN like Macron and Theresa May, if they had it their way, the leader of Syria would be dead too. And then Syria would be a mess. If they had it their way, they'd go to North Korea and kill Kim Jong-un and leave North Korea a mess. These people are savages. And I'll tell you what, it's not a coincidence. Like, people think it's a coincidence that, oh, they started this huge crisis and then Europe is getting flooded with these refugees who are now radicalized because nobody knows the full story. It's not a coincidence. Most likely, they're purposely doing it. They're purposely starting these wars. They're purposely killing these people. And then they're purposely flooding Europe with refugees because they probably want to take over all of Europe and America. So when Europe gets flooded with refugees and it becomes inhabitable because it's just going to get more and more radical, it's not a coincidence. It's not like they did that by mistake and then they're trying to help people. That's what people think. Oh, no. There's ways to help people. You know how the best way to help a refugee is to not create one in the first place. That's the best way you can help somebody in Afghanistan and Iraq and Somalia. Help them in their country, set up safe zones, and actually help. We've been getting lied to. Oh, we're going for democracy. We don't even have democracy in our own country. It's an oligarchy at best. How are we going to bring democracy to another country when we don't even have it ourselves? When we have presidents slowly taking away our freedoms, trying to take away freedom of speech, trying to take away freedom of press, trying to take away freedom of right to bear arms. Why don't we work out our own freedoms before we bring freedom to another country? So you have politicians, once again, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, George Bush. They created the refugee crisis. That's not being nice. People are like, oh, no, we got to just bring them into our country now. It's not about helping people. It's not about helping innocent people. It's about, who are these people that are coming in? Who are they? Do you know who they are? These hundreds of thousands of people? Because there's a strong chance that, unfortunately, based off the failed policies of politicians that you don't even know exist, these aren't normal people that want to function in Western society. These are a lot of times leftover paid mercenaries and people that just literally want to destroy Europe and destroy England and destroy America and destroy Western civilization. That's what they want to do. I didn't ask them to feel that way. And like I said, I'm always fair. I don't just blame the whole religion. I don't just blame the people, because it's a multi-layered issue. The UN and the US gave them 20 times more reason to be mad. And just like they lie to you, they lie to the Muslims. They lie to the peaceful Muslims. They lie to the people praying. You probably never heard a story about ISIS attacking the biggest prayer ceremony in the world, where millions of people go and they all just sit down and pray. You never heard that story. Because they don't want you to know that it's happening. They don't want you to be connected. They don't want all the peaceful, good people of every race, religion, and gender to connect and form a unity. They don't want that. They want division. They want refugees. They want war. You think they didn't know this was going to happen? They wanted this to happen. They want there to be refugees. And by they, I'm saying the media, the people who control the world, and the puppet politicians that they use as little puppets. Do my dirty work so we can take over. This refugee situation is not a coincidence. And there's thousands of ways to help refugees besides bringing them to people's countries. You can set up safe zones. You can not create refugees in the first place. That would be nice, but it's too late for that, because all the politicians that people love, because they're so brainwashed by the fake news TV, they love these people. They're like, oh my God, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, they're such good people. Are they? Or are they some of the most evil politicians to ever walk the face of the earth, who created the most catastrophic refugee crisis of the 21st century? It's all perspective. It's all how much you actually know and how much you think you know. So that happened. And any politician that comes up like Donald Trump and Le Pen, and like I said a bunch of times, I don't think they speak about it properly. Anyone that comes out and tries to help their country, they get demonized by the media. Oh no, they're xenophobic, they're racist. That's fine, but don't be surprised when goofy Theresa May and goofy Macron, they don't care. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, these people don't care about your safety. They're telling you, they think you're dumb, because most people are dumb. They're like, just get used to it, relax, watch the Ariana Grande concert, Relax. Just go out to eat. Trust me, stabbings and bombings and, explosions and cars driving into people, it's just a part of life now. If people really wanted to help people, and this includes the United States, politicians, please, we have to establish trust. The first thing is trust. Stop lying. I'm going to give you a multiple steps, step by step of how you reduce all crimes, how you reduce all terrorism, and make a more peaceful society. 1, establish the trust. Stop lying to everybody. Stop lying on the TV. Stop lying on the internet. Stop silencing people who are telling the truth. Tell the effing truth, and life will be better for everybody, including you, corrupt weirdo politicians who lie all the time, and media companies that just can't figure it out. They're like short-circuiting because they lie so much, and now their whole reality is being torn down. So establish the trust. Once you establish the trust, you don't have anything to lie about. 2, establish the law. Make a law that makes everybody feel comfortable. You can't establish a law that nobody trusts. So we don't have any trust. A lot of people don't trust the police. A lot of people don't trust the law. And in a lot of cases, rightfully so, because there's no trust. There's no trust. They're treating certain things like heroin. You need trust, and then you need to establish the law. If you don't do these 2 things, if you never establish the trust and you never establish the law, it's not just going to be England. It's going to be the whole world. Crime's going to go up. Terror's going to go up. Why wouldn't it? You need trust and you need law. But you can't have one without the other. Because if you have strict law, but nobody trusts you, nobody's going to feel comfortable about it. And you're going to breed terrorism because nobody trusts the law. And that's what it is now. You have, in some cases, like in the United States, we kind of have laws. We don't have laws. We don't even have laws. We don't have trust or laws. What do you think is going to breed from that if you don't have trust or laws? It's going to be more crime, more bad situations. We don't have either. And you can't have one without the other. So you can't just come through and establish a huge law before you establish the trust. So stop lying to people. And then we can lay down the law. But right now you have a huge short-circuiting world government because they had a strategy. I'm sorry. They did. Do your research. They had a strategy to take over the whole world, and they can't do it successfully anymore. There's too much pressure. You have the Philippines who are kicking out the central banks. You have Donald Trump who's not playing along with all the other global powers, and they're freaking out. And this is a crisis that they created. So please, if you want to get to the bottom of this, first off, you got to figure out there's religion involved. There's a radicalization of religion, and specifically from the 7 war-torn countries that Barack Obama, the UN, and Hillary Clinton just absolutely decimated. So from that region, it might be smart to London, to France, to the United States, instead of doubling the intake of refugees from that area, maybe it would be smart to take a step back for a month and try to figure out what's going on. Not to hate these people, not to be racist and sexist, blah, 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 blah. Just take a step back and be like, what's going on before we just flood my house? Before I just let 10,000 people live in my apartment, I might try to figure out what's going on with them before so. But it's a multi-layered issue. And it's a multi-layered issue that's never going to get solved because you can't even scratch the surface. If you talk about the refugee crisis like I just talked about with you, people say, oh, no, you're xenophobic. It's just love and peace. Love and peace, no borders, la, 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 la. Barack Obama, he's the best. I miss Barack Obama. Love and peace. You people are the reason that we're never going to have a conversation. Because you can't have a conversation. It's like, that's their answer. And I'm sorry, I'm more loving and more peaceful than 99.9% of people that I know. But I really want to help people. I don't want to pretend like I'm loving and peaceful and just having women, children, and families getting slaughtered. That's not love and peace. That's stupidity. That's idiocracy. That's being naive. It doesn't matter how many concerts you have to help people. I'm sorry, but your concerts are not going to stop terrorism. Your thoughts and prayers are not going to stop terrorism anymore. Changing your Facebook profile picture and writing a status It's not going to stop terrorism. It's going to be a multi-layered strategy that no one even knows about. Like, everybody's talking up here, and the real root of the problem is triple pronged, and we're not attacking any of them. You have, a few people. If you talk about it in the United States or in UK, people think you're racist, sexist, and xenophobic. That's how stupid people are. It's like, how many more people need to succumb to terror before we can have a real honest conversation about what's going on? All the stuff I talked about the U.S. and Saudi funding weapons, about the United States paying ISIS and paying Al-Qaeda, driving U.S. cars, driving U.S. weapons, and the radicalization of the religion that even the peaceful sect of Muslims don't even like. They understand it's a problem. But America and most of the UK, they're in la-la land, and they'll say, oh, you're just politicizing the event. Oh, of course you're going to make it I'm not. I don't care about politics. I just want to see people stop dying. And I would love to see it on a local level. I wish there wasn't so much crime as well, because there is a lot of crime that's unterrorist related. It's very true. And like I said, it's because there's no trust, because all the media is lying, literally, and there's no law. So why wouldn't there? When is crime going to stop? If you don't have any trust, you have no real news sources, and you have no law. I mean, there needs to be a law that everybody respects, but nobody respects, including Americans, including people in the UK, including people in Europe, and including Muslim people in other countries. Nobody respects it, because who's going to respect a dishonest politicians? Who's going to respect dishonest news sources? When you establish that trust, when you establish that realness, then you can start pointing the finger. Then you can say, anybody that doesn't trust me, that's not out here, you're getting the heaviest penalty possibly. We're cracking down on terrorism. We're cracking down on crime. We're cracking down on all this stuff. It's not acceptable, but you can't do that until you have the trust. And we're never going to get the trust until we have real conversations, and until people stop buying into politicians and media sources who don't tell the truth, who tell you that everything's racist, sexist, and xenophobic. But regardless of my opinion, regardless of other people's opinions, I mean, it's not going to stop. We'll see next week and the next week after and the next week, and I'm getting sick and tired of talking about this stuff, because why would I want people, to be killed over something that's easily preventable, and something that it's just, everybody wants to talk about math, science, and statistics real quick before I go. It's math, science, and statistics that it's only going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. That's science. Everybody wants to talk about science and protest in the U.S. Oh my God, March for Truth, March for Truth. Why don't you do the science and statistics of populations, and which populations are falling and which populations are rising, and how to keep a society alive, and what happens when you have billions of people repopulating at a rate of 8-to-1, and you have a bunch of societies repopulating at a rate of 1.3. And there's no disrespect to any cultures, races, and religions. I dream of a world where everybody gets along, they maintain who they are, and show love to other people, and anybody that doesn't want to follow the law of the land, that doesn't want to not kill people and not put people in harm, they're not allowed to exist. That's the world I dream of, but it's not going to happen until people figure out what's going on. And I pray for the victims. I pray for the people. I pray for anybody that has to feel any sort of negative way about this, but I want to help. And we're never going to do that until we get to the root of the problem. 90% of people that I know, if you talk about this too, it's like right over their head. They don't know anything. They know Ariana Grande, they know movies, they know video games, they know TV, they know dumb songs that they play on the radio. Like, yeah, work it, work it, work it, work it. They've officially programmed people like robots, and nobody knows what's going on anymore. Much love to the victims, much love to everybody, much love to anybody who succumbs to violence and hate and all this negative stuff, because it happens all the time, every day, everywhere in the world. It's a cold world, but it's a beautiful world. Amongst all the madness, these are the greatest times to be alive, so enjoy it, show love to your family, and understand it's not that bad. Life is good. I just want to make it even better so that people don't have to deal with this stuff anymore. All right, let me know what you think.